Hi everyone, great to have you back on the Astana Times channel. I'm Asil Stubaldina and this is the weekly news digest, your roundup of the key events and headlines from across Kazakhstan. This week, the diplomatic calendar for Astana has been packed, as President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev has been engaged in high-stakes meetings, effectively doubling down on the country's signature multi-vector foreign policy. First, President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev traveled to Tashkent for a state visit, where he met with Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev and co-chaired the second meeting of the Supreme Interstate Council. These talks were heavy on finance and infrastructure. The two nations are pushing their bilateral trade goal to a staggering $10 billion by 2030, backed by the official launch of nearly $1.2 billion in joint industrial projects. As global supply chains are reshaped, Astana and Tashkent are positioning the Trans-Caspian international transport route as the indispensable freight artery running through Central Asia, offering a strategic alternative. Tashkent also hosted the Central Asian Leaders Consultative Meeting, where Tokayev advocated for deeper regional economic integration. To put it in numbers, President Tokayev cited the rapid growth of the Central Asian internal market. Intra-regional trade surged to $11.5 billion last year, and the target is now an ambitious $20 billion in the near future. On the institutional side, the meeting welcomed Azerbaijan as a full member of the consultative format. These move structural links the Caspian's eastern and western shores, lending powerful support to regional stability and transcontinental connectivity. Back in Astana, President Tokayev hosted Estonian President Alar Karis for a state visit. Looking at the figures, Estonia has a significant established footprint. Since 2005, its direct investment in Kazakhstan have exceeded $128 million, with over 80 Estonian companies currently operating in the country. In his bilateral meeting with Karis, Tokayev explicitly highlighted Kazakhstan's goals to gain wider access to Estonian seaports and expand logistical cooperation. This speaks directly to Astana's interest in securing reliable transit routes to Europe. For his part, President Karis underscored that relations are on an excellent trajectory, stressing that existing trade barriers are solvable. He noted that both countries are aligned in the need to jointly navigate global geopolitical instability. And for our viewers, President Karis also sat down for an exclusive interview with the Astana Times, which you can see in the link below. The Kampanine Business Forum delivered concrete results: $517 million in commercial agreements, gathering over 90 representatives of Estonian businesses from logistics, digitalization, innovation, industry, energy, and education sectors. The same week, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan arrived in Astana for talks with President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. The meeting focused on strengthening political dialogue, expanding economic cooperation, and opening new areas of partnership between the two countries. Tokayev underscored what he called the long-standing friendship and mutual respect between the Kazakh and Armenian people. He noted that Armenia is one of Kazakhstan's key partners in the South Caucasus, with cooperation developing across politics, trade, culture, and education. Pashinyan said the visit creates new opportunities to deepen relations, expand transport connectivity, and explore cooperation in agriculture, digitalization, artificial intelligence, and healthcare. He added that Kazakhstan serves as a good example for Armenia and described mutual respect as the foundation of future cooperation. Kazakhstan has been taking part in the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Belém. The country's delegation is led by Minister of Ecology and Natural Resources Yerlan Asanbayev. Kazakhstan's minister addressed the Leaders' Summit on November 6, reaffirming the country's commitment to the Paris Agreement and its own updated climate policies. He said Kazakhstan has submitted a revised nationally determined contribution with more ambitious emissions reduction and adaptation targets, as well as a new national adaptation plan. Nazarbayev also stressed the importance of the new collective climate finance goal, which aims to mobilize up to $1.3 trillion annually by 2035 under the Baku-Belém roadmap presented by COP29 and COP30 presidents. He also invited delegates to attend a regional environmental summit that Kazakhstan will host in 2026. This year's COP30 opened on November 10th under Brazil's presidency. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva urged countries to match opportunity with urgency, rejecting climate denial and calling for renewed action to keep the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal alive. COP30 President Ambassador Andre Correo do Lago echoed that message, emphasizing multilateralism, science, and education as essential tools for progress. The summit also exposed early friction in the negotiations. As Reuters reported this week, Brazil had pushed delegates to reach an early agreement on two of the most contentious issues at COP30: the future of fossil fuels and the scale of climate finance for developing countries. Those efforts stalled, with several negotiating blocs refusing to commit before the final stretch of the conference. Despite the setbacks, President Lula struck an upbeat tone, saying the talks were moving forward and expressing confidence that the summit could still deliver a meaningful package that keeps the 1.5-degree target within reach. As Kazakhstan steps up its role in global climate policy, it's also moving ahead on the digital front. The nation adopted Central Asia's first comprehensive artificial intelligence law, signed by President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev this week. The legislation introduces sweeping rules governing the use of AI in both the public and private sectors, with a focus on transparency, safety, and ethical standards. Under the new law, citizens must be notified when an AI system influences decisions about them, retain the right to explanations for automated outcomes, and have full protections over their data. It also imposes strict prohibitions on the use of advanced technologies within the digital space. It explicitly bans high-risk practices such as behavioral manipulation, the non-consensual recognition of emotions, and intrusive social scoring systems. Clear labeling of synthetic content, including AI-generated images, videos, audio, and text, is now mandatory, a measure aimed at curbing deepfakes and reducing the risk of disinformation and reputational harm. The timing is strategic. As AI becomes embedded in daily life globally, Kazakhstan is positioning itself to compete not just as a user of the technology, but as a regulator and developer. This move underscores its ambition to build a digital country and deepen its role in the regional tech ecosystem. And that's all for this week's News Digest. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories from the Astana Times. Until next time.